Well, hello, our fellow friends, our fellow neighbors, and our fellow shining stars. Our next trolley stop is here, and our next trolley stop now. Welcome back to another all-new episode of PR from the Heart's Children's Book Spotlight Series. To be precise, we have reached episode number 255. That is the 255th trolley stop here at PR from the Heart. Here at the Children's Book Spotlight Series, we're in what we refer to as the sweet spot, because literally just the next trolley stop from here begins our holiday season celebration, one of our favorite times of the year. So we hope that wherever you are, that you are enjoying the start of your autumn season. My name is John Masiulionis, the manager of PR from the Heart, the host of the Children's Book Spotlight Series, and the author of the new award-winning children's book, Walking Each Other Home, Zachary's Mission, a Hospice for Children, published by Trolley Stop Publishing. Joined as always each and every trolley stop by my faithful furry friend and forever companion, little Forrest, who reminds me, hey, John, listen, don't forget, not only am I your faithful furry friend and forever companion in this journey called life, but I'm also your co-host on the Children's Book Spotlight Series. Little Forrest, thank you for one of many contributions during this particular trolley stop. Again, this is a very special trolley stop. We always like to acknowledge the really special trolley stops. And it's very interesting, especially as we look ahead to the start of the holiday season. It's hard to believe it's the start of the new year, almost just around the corner. I don't know about you, but growing up, you know how when you start at the very beginning of the year and then you start to write the new year, whatever that year is, you always find yourself going back to the previous year. Not this year. It's full steam ahead in the process, but there are many people across the country and around the world that are taking the time to travel, whether it be to travel to another city, to another state, to another country even. And when we take the time to travel, we learn new things. We learn new languages. We learn new cultures. We really immerse ourselves in everything that is new. And especially for those children who are getting the opportunities to travel leading into the start of the holiday season, during the holiday season, and into the start of the new year, they're really blessed with something very special in the process. But one of the cool things about children's books is that for those children, even for those adults, us as big kids, who let's say we may not necessarily be able to travel all that often, or maybe when we do, it's, kind of here and there. There's something really cool about children's books because we can travel anywhere. We can travel in our minds, in our imaginations, in our hearts. And when we have the opportunity to do that, not only for ourselves as parents and caregivers and custodians of little ones, but when we can also encourage our children to be able to dream big, knowing the fact that they can travel wherever they want to travel. And even if they can't in this specific moment, that they can travel in their mind's eye, their imagination, and their heart. That's really when some good things happen. In the words of one of our favorite neighbors, Mr. Rogers, the host of the long-running children's television program, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, he would always say, that's such a good feeling. It really is. And leave it to a brand new children's book series to help us see the way on all of this leading into the start of the holiday season and beyond. We encourage all of you, once again, our listeners and viewers, our friends and neighbors, and of course, our fellow shining stars, to head on over to the official Facebook page of our featured guest here on the Children's Book Spotlight Series, along with Amazon.com, if that is your preferred online vehicle of your choosing. You can purchase, read, enjoy, and review your copies of The Adventures of Baby Brown Bear, the entire series. It is now available in Australia, in the Philippines, and just recently released in Mexico. One of the many ways that you can pledge your support for our featured guest here on the Children's Book Spotlight Series is by leaving a 5-star review on Amazon. That lets Carrie know that she's doing wonderful and much needed work for children, parents, families, educators, and as we like to say here on the program, those who love great children's books. We've got a lot to be able to talk about. The trolley loves to rack up mileage leading into the holiday season, but there are times where the trolley needs a rest. So when the trolley doesn't have very, very far to travel, we head out from San Diego to, I believe, Orange County, not far from San Diego. Joining us, one of our newest friends here at PR from the Heart and the creator of the Adventures of Baby Brown Bear series, children's author Cari Hitchcock. Of course, she is also the wife of the lead singer of Air Supply, Russell Hitchcock. Carrie, we appreciate you spending some quality time with myself and little Forrest amidst all of your travels, because it's a very big season with it being the 50th anniversary tour of Air Supply. Thank you for spending some time with us here in our neighborhood. How are things with you today?
Great. Thank you, John, for having me and a little rub behind the ears for little Forrest. Um, Great to be here.
I'm really looking forward to our conversation. We always like to start off with some housekeeping, just like you tend to do whenever there's an air supply concert. You got to make those important announcements to set the intention for what people are about to experience. One of the many ways you can also pledge your support for Carrie and for us here at the Children's Book Spotlight Series and PR from the Heart. If these messages that we are sharing about traveling, not only across the country, but around the world, and if you can't maybe travel in this specific moment, to just close your eyes and travel wherever you want to, whether it's someplace across the country or around the world, in your mind's eye, in your heart. Subscribe to PR from the Heart's official YouTube channel. Join the more than 30,000 members of the PR from the Heart family, our loyal YouTube subscribers, and share this very special trolley stop that you are now enjoying. That is episode number 255 of the Children's Book Spotlight Series. Carrie, so much to be able to get into right off the bat. Want to mention this personally for everyone who's tuning in. The experience that I had, and we'll kind of expand upon this a little bit more. If you haven't had the chance to get to an Air Supply concert, it really is what I'll refer to as an immersive experience. And you and Russell could not have been any kinder when Air Supply was here in San Diego not that long ago. Humphreys on the Bay, shout out to the entire team there as well, too. You really know how to make your fans feel connected, loved, and special. And I've been around a lot of different people over the years, not even just children's authors, but professional wrestlers, celebrities. And there's a lot of vanity and ego that are out there. And just, it was such an immersive, heart opening, connective experience. And I feel that the way in which you and Russell and the rest of your team create that for the fans, it's something that people really need to know, especially amidst these wonky, crazy times, that there are people out there that are good people that want to be able to help you to open your heart that much more. So I want to take the time to extend my appreciation and gratitude to you and Russell and your entire team right off the bat.
Well, you're very welcome. We always love to have new people and meet new people. And you're right. Graham and Russell, um, their fans are just amazing, and they wouldn't be who they are without their fans. And they appreciate them and acknowledge them every night during the show. And it's just a beautiful thing.
We'll talk, of course, more about Air Supply, but we always start off each children's book spotlight series episode talking about an origin story. For some authors, they knew very early on at a very young age that they wanted to be a children's author, to make a difference in the lives of children. But oftentimes it can be that experience or a series of experiences where it's not like, as I like to say, that maybe being a children's author was not on your bingo board, so to speak. For those who are learning about you, they're learning about the Adventures of Baby Brown's Bear series for the first point in time here today on the Children's Book Spotlight series. Can you share with us really where your journey first began, prior to coming into contact with Russell, where your journey first began, and then when you knew that you wanted to become a children's author and have this series come to form and shape and take flight?
Since I was little, I've always been a writer. I've written in journals, as a little kid. Um, and then as I grew older, uh, I found out that I was very artsy. I'm a singer. I ended up creating a band that, isn't as big as Air Supply by any means. And I wrote songs for that. So I'm also a songwriter. And just writing became very easy for me. I never intended to be a children's author. It just kind of, after all this experience being on the road, I'm like, you know what, this would be a great thing. I'm a mom of three. My children are not so little anymore. My son Joshua is 26, my son Jordan is 23, and my daughter Claire is 20. So they're not so little, but I've always had the mom experience in me, um, you know, being a stay-at-home mom, raising them. So as when I met Russell, you know, um, we travel to different theaters and different casinos and things like that. And we went to this one casino and we were gifted baby brown bear. There he is right there. He was left on our bed at one of the casinos, and he became our traveling partner. everywhere we would go, different cities, different states, different countries. And so I came up with the idea to write a children's book, starting in Australia, since that's where Russell's from. And, you know, as a kid, I was mischievous. And so I decided to write a book about baby brown bear going to Australia and going to the different landmarks there, and being a little mischievous in Australia.
I give you credit first things first, because whenever there is something that is in front of us, right, and it's meant to serve as a catalyst for our next steps, it's oftentimes we see that when we're ready. Now, you could have just seen this as, hey, this is this cute little brown bear and I'm going to hang on to it. It's a nice memento of the trip, but you had the foresight to say, maybe there's something about this baby brown bear, not to get, metaphysically on you when I share this, but you really were attuned and attentive to that, because oftentimes creativity comes in different forms. And it's oftentimes where if we find ourselves taking the time to like pray or meditate, universe, send me the next thing that I need on, for my next steps. And it comes in the form of another person or an experience. And you really, you have to do your part to be as open, aware, attuned, and attentive as possible. I also want to make mention of Russell. We've already made mention of him a couple of times as well, too. I am a sucker for a good love story. In many respects, going back to the day when I worked at Blockbuster Video, when we used to rent movies back in the day, but even before that, I loved romantic comedies, still do. And there's something, again, amidst what we're seeing in the world right now, and maybe relationships, being on the rocks or not necessarily lasting very long. There's something about having that partner in your life that literally is the yin to your yang, the alpha to the omega, where it's just this healthy synergy, cohesion, and just seeing the two of you in person. Like, I can't put that into words, so to speak. Talk to us about the love story with yourself and Russell, because it was seeing him take the time to inspire you as a children's author. He could be fully immersed in his air supply stuff and just kind of have this be your pet project that you're working on. But he's literally pledging not even just his time and his energy and his commitment, but his heart and his soul. And I want to take the time to really acknowledge that. How does that really make you feel in the process, knowing the fact that he's with you every step of the way, and that in many respects, he helped to inspire this series that's now taking flight?
Yeah, Russell and I was a VIP at a concert of his. I went to the meet and greet like everybody, and met him, and just something sparked there. And that's how we met. It grew and grew and grew, and we ended up getting married. Um, and, of course, you say that, he's your husband, he has to support you, but he really doesn't. But he's the best support ever. He's an encourager. He is just amazing at supporting my ideas and anything that comes up.
And I think that that really is important, because especially when, we are human beings and we can find ourselves feeling down, and who's caring about my idea and who's caring about my books and what it is that I'm doing, right now in the world. It's important to have that support system. And whatever that support system lands up being, knowing the fact as well, too, and we'll expand upon this more, just like the support that you're getting from the Air Supply fans, the fact that your books are being sold at the concerts, and just having the opportunity to be able to connect with those fans and really seeing that extended support, that's got to be a good feeling as well, too. In life, even though we want life to be rainbows and gumdrops, we do experience the ups and the downs. We like to refer to it as the polarity and the contrast here on the Children's Book Spotlight series. And it's important for us to acknowledge that, because if life were always rainbows and gumdrops, even though that would be super cool, maybe we might not necessarily have an appreciation for everything, for the whole journey. Now, it's very easy for someone to see Carrie Hitchcock, wife of Russell Hitchcock, lead singer of Air Supply, and think, you guys have it made in the shade. You have no problems, no challenges, no difficulties. That said, obviously, again, you're human beings. You do move through your own things as well, too. Could you share this specifically, some of the challenges and difficulties that you've experienced through your path on your journey, leading into the creation of the Adventures of Baby Brown Bear series, and even during the whole process? Books coming out, we can still navigate through some challenges. And then what were some of the things that helped you to move through those challenges and difficulties to get through to the other side?
John, everybody goes through challenges, and I am blessed to say that there was really no challenges at all. I came up with the idea to write a book. Russell encouraged it. I've written 6 of the books so far. 3 are published. So New York and Paris and Las Vegas are coming out. But there's really been no challenges. And, even in the show with Air Supply, Graham mentions how Russell and him have never had an argument.
Yep.
And Russell and I have the same thing. We don't argue. There's never any challenging things. We work together as a team. And if you knew Russell like, I do, or like Graham does, you would understand why he's just an encourager. He's an amazing man.
And just, again, being able to see that dynamic and element in person, it's something that I'm so happy for you. Like, knowing the fact that you have this series taking flight, you have a relationship that's blossoming. We're heading into the holiday season where there's always more magic and miracles, as we like to say here on the program. And this is why I'm really excited to momentarily, we're going to be cracking the covers, plural, and diving into the pages of the Adventures of Baby Brown's Bear series. Of course, again, you're joined with little Forrest and myself, John Masiulionis, along with Cari Hitchcock, the creator of the Adventures of Baby Brown series, and of course, the wife of the lead singer of Air Supply, Russell Hitchcock. We encourage all of you, once again, our listeners and viewers, our friends and neighbors, and of course, our fellow shining stars, to head on over to Carrie's official Facebook page to purchase your copies of the Adventures of Baby Brown Bear series. You can also head on over to Amazon.com if that's your favorite online vehicle of your choosing. Be sure to leave that 5-star review if you feel guided and inclined to do so. That lets Carrie know that she's doing wonderful and much needed work for children, parents, families, educators, and for those who love great children's books. For all librarians, whether it be librarians or bookstore owners, if you do not stock your copies of the Adventures of Baby Brown series, of course, make that kind recommendation. If you head on over to your favorite local library, your favorite children's or independent bookstore, if they do not stock their copies of the Adventures of Baby Brown Bear series, make that kind recommendation. Let them know that you heard about it right here on the Children's Book Spotlight series, to be precise, episode number 255. And then lastly, all educators, teachers, principals, librarians, school superintendents, one of the best ways that you can make the days better, we're going to kind of riff in some Air Supply music. One of the ways in which you can make the days better for your students is by facilitating an author's school visit, whether it be in person or remotely with Carrie. Head on over to her official Facebook page to be able to connect with her and schedule your author's school visits leading into the holiday season, coming out of the holiday season into the upcoming calendar year that is 2026. The series is so colorful, it's magical, and it always starts when you have a good character. Whenever you have something or someone that children can really connect with. And of course, when we all grow up, we all have our favorite stuffies. I know for me, we're just celebrating the 40th anniversary of the original Care Bears movie that came out, that featured Cree Summer, who played Penny on Inspector Gadget. I think she was also in the iconic NBC series, A Different World. And I think that my stuffy of choice was a Bright Heart Raccoon. So that's when they introduced the Care Bear Cubs. And I believe it was this purple little raccoon that had a light bulb shaped in the form of a heart on its tummy. So I just share this because we all have our stuffies. For many kids, it's, of course, a teddy bear or a brown bear, combination of both, so to speak. Knowing the fact that, again, you see this little bear that's, of course, in your hotel room. How long thereafter did it take a little bit of time to say, maybe I think there's something here with this? Or was it almost like an instantaneous aha, like, oh, not only is this a cute little gift from the hotel staff, But this is going back to, wanting to expand your writing for a long period of time. How long did it take for you to click and put two and two together with regards to seeing that little baby brown bear?
Well, when we got the bear, we thought it was cute, and we put it in our backpack and took it home. And he was just so cute that Russell's like, let's just take him with us. And I said, okay. And he just, like I said before, became our traveling buddy. He and then we started taking pictures of him out, at the airport or on a slot machine or somewhere. And I think our very first trip was with him was to Australia. And we took pictures of him looking out the hotel window into the city and things like that. And with my kids and a lot of kids out there, they're so enthralled in their phones or in their, iPads or in video games that is all that they do. They don't read, they don't get into books. And so I thought, this would be a great thing to create. And a lot of children don't get to go to the Philippines or to Australia or
True.
to Mexico or to learn about different cultures. And I just, came up with the idea of creating a children's book that lets kids use their creativity, use their imagination, and is educational as well to go to these places and learn about the cultures.
And when we crack the cover and when we dive into the pages of the adventures of Baby Brown Bear in Australia, and the Philippines, and Mexico, we learn that Baby Brown Bear does not travel alone. It would be amazing if it were just Baby Brown Bear and just, having his own adventures. But anytime that you can have an adventure with someone else, whether it be a significant other, life partner, mom, dad, brother, sister, whatever the case might be. I mean, sometimes you definitely want to have some solo travels, right? Because if you're a sensitive soul, you got to give yourself some downtime for yourself. We never like to give away the whole kit and caboodle. That's an old school vaudevillian term. So we like to say here on the program, we never like to give away the whole kit and caboodle. Could you share with us, starting off with the adventures of Baby Brown Bear in Australia, what are some of the things that children will experience along the way when they follow Baby Brown Bear and Mr. Kazoo, Pookie Boo on their adventures, and what will they specifically take away? We'll kind of start off one book at a time.
In Australia, like you mentioned, there are two other characters, and I don't mind saying who they are. Mr. Kazoo is one of the characters, and that is Russell. And Pookie Boo is another character, and that's me. So it's about Mr. Kazoo and Pookie Boo and Baby Brown Bear going to Australia and for on tour with Air Supply. So it incorporates Air Supply and being on tour, and Mr. Kazoo going to his shows and things like that. And Baby Brown Bear gets a little restless and decides to sneak out
That's a good
of the
one.
hotel room. Yeah.
And one of the things before we talk about the Philippines, I love the fact, and this is like, maybe this is just the publicist side of me, but whenever I look at a children's book, there's always three lenses that I look through it in. One is someone who loves great children's books. Two is my inner child. Three is the publicist eye, so to speak. And at the very end of the story, it says the end, on to the next adventure. So
Right.
you're really giving that healthy cliffhanger for kids, knowing the fact that, especially if they're really finding themselves immersed in this story, of course, if they love it, they're going to want to read it again and again and again. But this not only helps kids to learn the fact that there's something to look forward to, but there's also more books in the series. Before we talk about the Philippines and Mexico momentarily, speak to that thread. The importance of, again, in the world in which we live in, whether you're a little one, whether you're a big kid, you're an adult, sometimes it can feel like, the world is a very dense place right now. It's a very serious place. Specifically speaking, why is it important, maybe now more than ever, that we can do our part to help kids know that there's something to look forward to?
Kids, I don't know, kids, like I said before, are so enthralled in their iPad. They don't have that creativity to know that there's more than video games outside in this world. And so I think basically that was the premise of going to different countries, going to different cities, is to educate them on different places that they may not be able to visit.
And I appreciate you really saying that as well too. And I think that there's something that's also special about children's books as well too, because I've seen and I've spoken with children, parents, and educators, as well as librarians. And sometimes, we're all moving through something in some way, shape, or form. There's children that their parents are navigating through some relationship challenges. Maybe they're separated, maybe they're divorced, maybe kids are being picked on, they're getting bullied. So knowing the fact that your books are actually making a difference on those kids, especially, they're not only, being able to take new adventures, but they really have a safe space, knowing the fact that Baby Brown Bear is there for them in a time in which they really need it most. I mean, not to speak on your behalf, but that has to be extraordinarily gratifying. The Philippines, I do want to give a shout out to my assistant Ling and to the rest of our team, Melissa and Venus and Ruby. They are all based in the Philippines. Huge Air Supply fans as well too. I know that you had mentioned when we connected in person that when you do travel to the Philippines, sometimes it's a matter of you have to stay in the hotel, because if Russell and Graham kind of just walked outside, it's kind of like Elvis almost. I think that's the example that people go, it's like Elvis and people just flock, so to speak. I've never had the chance to be in the Philippines before. I've heard great things about it, but could you give us a little glimpse of what, children and parents and families and educators will learn about and enjoy when Baby Brown Bear goes to the Philippines?
So you're right. When Air Supply goes to the Philippines, they are like the Beatles or Elvis. The Philippine fan base is just amazing. They're very polite. They're very kind. And so what better way to honor them by putting out a second book, and that's in the Philippines. So Baby Brown Bear goes to the Philippines and he visits the different landmarks there. And this last trip that we went to the Philippines, he actually went with us to the places and got to visit everything that's written in the book. Um, and so, like Intramuros, Fort Santiago. And the big one is the Mayan volcano, where he gets into a little mischief there. And yeah.
One of the things that I also want to make mention of is that we always like to share some of our favorite parts of a children's book, some of the favorite illustration spreads. Been in this industry for over 11 years, and we've been doing the children's book spotlight series now for we're entering into the 8th year of the program, because we just celebrated our 7-year anniversary. Without giving away the story, at the very end, there's a beautiful spread where Baby Brown Bear literally says 3 amazing, potent words: best day ever. And I feel that especially if whether you're a child, whether you're an adult, and if you can connect to something that you're reading or watching on a visceral level, I was able to sense that and feel that. And literally just the expression on Baby Brown Bear's face, that he had the best day ever as well too. And again, so this is like, you don't necessarily have to travel to the Philippines to have the best day ever. I think this is also one of the things that it's also very cohesive about your books is that you're reminding children that no matter where they are, they can have adventures. And the fact that it can literally begin right within their heart, their imagination, their mindset. They don't have to travel to the Philippines. They don't have to travel to Australia, even though obviously I'm sure that they would probably like to at some point in time. And of course, Mexico is the newest release. I haven't had the chance to be in Mexico, even though, we're literally right by the border. We could cross the border and we're in Mexico, that kind of thing. But could you share with us, maybe let's say 1 or 2 of the things that you're really the most proud of? Whenever, in the world of children's literature, when you're a KidLit creator, it's always about the newest thing, the newest book, the newest podcast, the newest TV interview. It's always the newest thing. So what are some of the things that you're really the most proud of about this newest book, The Adventures of Baby Brown Bear in Mexico?
Well, before I get into that, going back to the best day ever, that is the catchphrase on the end of each book. And the reason why I chose that is because, Baby Brown Bear goes to these different places, goes to the landmarks, goes, visits the culture, things like that. And he gets into a little trouble. And then at the end of the day, Pookie Boo and Mr. Kazoo, he always gets quote quote saved by them from the mischief that he gets into. So that's a big thing where I just wanted children to know that whether it be your parents or your grandparents or somebody very close to you, you can always count on them to save you and have the best day ever, whether, even though you get into some trouble. So that I just wanted to mention that. As far as Mexico, I'm just really excited for this one. It has a special guest character in it that I'm not going to give away yet. But the Air Supply fans will be very, very excited about that one. And it's just another, book where Baby Brown Bear just goes on these adventures in Mexico.
And again, being able to travel to these different cities, these different countries, one of the great things is that when you have something such as a children's book series, and I'd share this with you when we were in person at backstage at Humphreys on the Bay, is that this is something that really sparks a lot of interest. There's nothing wrong with having just a standalone children's book, right? Kids can go back to it over and over again. But there's something about having a beautiful series that it's very connective, it's very engaging. It's always, as you said, the next adventure. Today was the best day ever, but tomorrow is the next adventure. Mm-hmm. So again, we encourage all of you, our listeners and viewers, our friends and neighbors, and of course, our fellow shining stars. Thank you for continuing to spend some time with us here in our neighborhood as part of PR from the Heart's Children's Book Spotlights. We're in that sweet spot between the back to school season, the anniversary celebration of the program, and the holiday season celebration. So again, joining us as our featured guest here on episode number 255 of the program is children's author, the creator of the Adventures of Baby Brown Bear series. They are now available. Of course, we have Australia, the Philippines, and the newest release, Mexico. One of the many ways that you can pledge your support for Carrie is by heading on over to her official Facebook page or Amazon.com if that's your preferred online vehicle of your choosing, and purchase, read, and enjoy your copies of the Adventures of Baby Brown Bear series. Of course, if Amazon.com is your preferred online vehicle of your choosing, be sure to leave that 5-star review for Carrie, as that lets her know that she's doing wonderful and much needed work for children, parents, families, educators, and as we like to say here on the program, those who love great children's books. Shout out to all of the new Air Supply fans and Air Supply fans that have been around for a long period of time. If you have been following Graham and Russell's journey for the past 50 years, shout out to all of the fans who are wanting to score copies of the Adventures of Baby Brown Bear series. If you are watching this episode in real time, we have Des Plaines, Illinois, Atlantic City, Newark, Detroit, Danville, Virginia, Scottsdale, Arizona, Friant, California, Woonsocket, Rhode Island, one of the coolest cities just to pronounce is Woonsocket, Springfield, Massachusetts, Bensalem, Pennsylvania, Charlotte, North Carolina, Richmond, Virginia, big show Friday, November the 28th at the YouTube Theater in Los Angeles, Oxon Hill, Maryland, Westbury, New York, Auburn, Washington, Portland, Oregon, Oakland, California, Anaheim, California, one of our favorite cities in the country, one of our favorite cities overall, Toronto, Ontario, Canada. That's going to be an amazing show on Wednesday, December the 17th, the theater at the Great Canadian Casino Resort. And then, of course, further travels into Canada, including Edmonton. And then, of course, starting off right after the new year, to all of the fans in Singapore, Taiwan, Hong Kong, back in the Philippines, the UAE. The list goes on and on. Needless to say that Air Supply, really cares about its fans. This is where, again, you can purchase your copies in person of the Adventures of Baby Brown Bear series. Also, if you head on over to your favorite local library, your favorite children's or independent bookstores, we like to say those are the pillars of our community. If they do not stock their copies of the Adventures of Baby Brown Bear series, make that kind recommendation. Let them know that you heard about it right here on the Children's Book Spotlight series, to be precise, episode number 255. And then lastly, if for all educators, teachers, principals, librarians, school superintendents, one of the many ways that you can make your days better during the school year is to facilitate your very own author's school visit, whether it be in person or remotely, virtually with Carrie and with your students to be able to help the adventures of Baby Brown Bear come alive. Because again, this is one of the great things about children's books, whether you're connected in person or from afar, Baby Brown Bear can travel literally from school to school. And that's such a super cool thing. When we begin to wind down our time here on a children's book spotlight series episode, Carrie, one of the things that we like to try to do is to provide some useful information. Not saying that what we haven't shared is useful, totally it has, but we really like to provide something tangible in the form of tips, tools, strategies for parents, for grandparents, for educators, for librarians, for caregivers, that they can instantaneously, that they can automatically extract from a children's book spotlight series and implement it into their own lives and then the lives of their children, grandchildren, their students, etc., and so forth. There's something about traveling and really expanding your horizons. You really can't put that into words other than whoever was the creator of the iconic Nike campaign that said, just do it. I remember when I was thinking about moving cross country from Buffalo to San Diego, and I was kind of saying, you know, wouldn't it be nice if? There's times we can almost sell ourselves short, whether it be, you know, childhood issues, you know, when we didn't think we're going to amount to anything. Or one of the things I always felt about Buffalo, and I say this with all respect to Buffalo, people that I know that are in Buffalo, it felt like Buffalo had an energetic cap. It only felt that I could only do so much in Buffalo. And in order for me to really be able to continue my mission and purpose and really fulfill what it is that I want to fulfill, I had to get out. And I literally moved 3,000 miles across the country, knowing less than 5 people, and literally creating a new life for myself. So it's not to say that you have to do that in order to be able to get out of your comfort zone, so to speak. But could you share with us specifically, because one of the things that the Adventures of Baby Brown Bear series talks about is the importance of really introducing children to the wonders of the world. If, let's say, your little one is experiencing some sorts of challenges, maybe just wants to be in the comfort zone, maybe for us as adults, we can actually want to stay in our comfort zone, even though that may sound ridiculous. We may say, no, I don't want to travel. I just, you know, I like the same things that I'm doing each and every day. What are a few specific things that we can do to help ourselves and then to help our children to begin to break out of the mundane and the comfort zone, where we can then be able to connect and experience more of the wonders of our own backyard, and then branching out even further, the wonders of the world?
You know, when I was younger, I was afraid of flying. Like when my kids were little, I would not step on a plane, and now I see myself, you know, every other day on a plane. And I think it's just the strength that you find in yourself, the strength that you get from other people, to encourage you to step out of your comfort zone and try new things. And I think with these books, you know, at the end of the book, it says, you know, best day ever, and that's because Pookie Boo and Mr. Kazoo were there to support Baby Brown Bear and to comfort him. And I think that you know, whether it be your parents, your grandparents, you know, firefighter, whoever, nurse, if you have that support, then and encouragement, then I think that makes it a little bit easier.
Agreed. And again, being able to have, I'm very appreciative of the fact that there were, I always refer to those people that come into our lives, and we'll kind of, this will come full circle momentarily. The people that come into our lives, they can encourage us, they can lift our spirits, they can literally empower us to do the next thing that it is we want to do. I refer to them as earth angels. So having that support team most definitively makes sense, especially if you're just beginning. If, let's say, your whole world was just, I know for years, for me, I hosted one of the most popular wrestling radio shows in the country called Monday Night Mayhem. So for 10 years plus, it's close to 12 years actually, that was my whole life. It was just the world of wrestling. And I eventually, after the passing of my grandmother, I knew that there had to be more than life to just talking to wrestlers and watching professional wrestling. And then that's when, you know, my whole life really began to change in many respects as well, too. We've mentioned his name several times, and we always, whenever we do a children's book spotlight series episode, each and every day when we're in our office here at Pierre from the Heart, we really feel the presence, the spirit, the heart of the late Fred Rogers, who again is the host of the long-running children's television program, the iconic Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Most notably, Fred did this during his time on The Neighborhood. And he also did it in different ways, shapes, and forms when he spoke at college commencement speeches or talks across the country. Most notably, he actually did this when he received his Lifetime Achievement Award at the Daytime Emmy shortly before he passed from stomach cancer. And he always kept the time, Carrie, whether it be 15 seconds, 30 seconds, or a full minute. He encouraged us to remember those who helped love us into being. And that was his way of saying, remember those people along our path, our earth angels, those who are reminding us to experience our own adventures. Heck, that we're worthy of having adventures in our life, that our life just doesn't have to be like this, that really our life can be as exciting and filled with love like an Air Supply concert. Okay. Who are some of the people that you would like to publicly recognize here on episode number 255 of the Children's Book Spotlight series that have helped love you, Cari Hitchcock, into being?
Well, first and foremost, of course, my husband. He's been the biggest supporter and encourager of anybody. And then also my mom and dad. They've been, with me through my ups and downs throughout my whole life. And then finally, my kids, Joshua, Jordan, and Claire, that inspired me to be a better mother, inspired me to be a better person, and ultimately to write these books.
One of the things that I also want to mention as we're beginning to wind down our time, and I mentioned this to both you and Russell in person, growing up, I had a Fisher-Price record player. If you were a child of the 80s, you really remember these. There were these little suitcase record players. I think they're still around in a little bit of a different form. And it's interesting because, growing up, when I was, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, probably I would say even up until like the early 90s, the musical collection that I had on vinyl, I really refer to myself as an old soul. So I found myself listening to We Are the World, to Peter Gabriel's So, to Michael Jackson's Bad, to Janet Jackson's Control, to Foreigners. Agent Provocateur, I think was the vinyl, and especially one of the songs is that is I Want to Know What Love Is. And I remember listening to Air Supply growing up as a child. And again, like if you would have told me back then that it would come full circle and have the opportunity to connect with Russell. I share this because I feel that there's something about, and I think it's really important to mention this during our conversation is that all love begins with self-love. And I've actually had the chance to speak with over the years, even before we connected, people that have come to me and said, listening to Air Supply helped me on my self-love journey. This is something I want you to pass along to Russell if you can, because, sometimes we think that love is when there's the significant other, right? If it's the husband or the wife or the fiance or the boyfriend or the girlfriend or the lover, right? And there's a certain truth to that. But it's long since been said, and I think I'd also mention this as well, too, is that, even though my partner hasn't come into the equation as of the recording of this episode, I remember when I had moved into my first residence eons ago, and I actually created in my kitchen like a little place for two. So, you got the two plates and the two forks and the little the little things, whatever you put the plates on them. Kind of blanking there on what those things are called, glasses for drinks. And so it's always about preparing the space, opening the space, so to speak. And I think that there's something, this is a full circle from the beginning of our conversation to now. What is it really about the music of Air Supply? Looking at this, I mean, obviously from your connection with Russell, but just someone who is, followed Air Supply for a long period of time, looking at it from the 30,000 feet in the air, big picture perspective. What is it about the music of Air Supply that makes it so timeless, that really reminds us that in a world in which there's a lot of hate and a lot of division, that love really is possible and can conquer all?
Well, I mean, that's just the thing is love is possible and it can conquer all. And they, Graham and Russell and Air Supply portray that during their show. So they aren't any different off stage than they are on stage, and that's a really big thing.
And that's something that I was also able to see as well too, because sometimes you get the one appearance on stage and then backstage it's something completely different. We always like to close out every children's book spotlight series episode, in addition to, of course, connecting with the heart and the spirit of Fred Rogers. We're also huge Disney buffs here at the children's book spotlight series. It's a perfect complement to the Mr. Rogers magic. There's something about the Disney magic that really reminds us that we have the ability to bring to form and shape our dreams, our desires, our goals, our ambitions, that we can literally fulfill our wishes. And in turn and in kind, we can do our part to help those who are on our path, whether it be family, friends, loved ones, clients, colleagues, and fellow neighbors, random passersby. We can remind them, we can empower them that they can bring to form and shape their dreams, their desires, their goals, their ambitions, that they can fulfill their wishes. We go back to the year 1992. It was a great year. It's hard to believe, with each passing day, 1992 goes more in the rearview mirror. We remember the late Robin Williams. We remember how he voiced the iconic Genie of the Lamp in Disney's beloved animated classic, Aladdin. Going on over 7 years, we have had this Genie lamp that has been with us really wherever we go here on the Children's Book Spotlight series. So we have a little segment that we like to call Three Wishes. So Carrie, you have given freely, Russell has given freely from your hearts to children, parents, families, educators, those who love great music, including Air Supply, for a long period of time. So this is your chance to receive. So I think the only automatic disqualifiers, you can't make someone fall in love. That has to happen organically. That did. Thumbs up to you and Russell. And you can't ask for more wishes, but anything else is fair game. So these wishes, they can be for yourself, they can be for your family, they can be for the children of the world, they can be for Air Supply fans worldwide. What would your three wishes be?
Gosh, that's a good one. I guess number one, that everybody finds that person to love in their life, to not make them whole, but to add to their life. Number two, that kindness in the world becomes a bigger thing than what it is. It's very easy to be kind, and it goes a long way.
Agreed.
And then number three, that everybody goes to heaven.
It's long since been said that when one's wishes come from one's heart, that they have a greater chance of coming true in the process. And both you and Russell have beautiful open hearts, so I feel those have a very good chance of coming true. And it also goes back full circle to what we mentioned about Mr. Rogers. And I'll paraphrase his words, because you mentioned those who help love you into being. He really reminded us to know that whether those individuals are near or far, whether they're still with us walking on this earthly plane or they're shining down from heaven, that they're smiling, knowing the indelible impact that you're making on the lives of children and parents and families and educators and Air Supply fans, and then some across the country and around the world. One of the fastest growing endorsements in the world of children's literature. It's similar and akin to if you were a fan of movies, a fan of the cinema growing up in the early 80s and 90s. You remember the late movie critic duo Siskel and Ebert. When they loved a movie, they gave it, of course, 2 thumbs up. Well, this is where little Forrest comes back into the equation. He has been my pride and joy now for over 3 years. So technically, it's not even just one of the fastest growing endorsements in the world of children's literature. It is one of the best endorsements in the world of children's literature. I've had the opportunity to read and enjoy and immerse ourselves together in the Adventures of Baby Brown Bear series, and little Forrest proudly gets 2 paws up for the Adventures of Baby Brown Bear series. So thank you, little Forrest, once again for your contributions to this particular episode of the Children's Book Spotlight series. When we hear the trolley, that means that it is time to go, but fear not, there are many more magical trolley stops to come here on the Children's Book Spotlight series. Once again, we encourage all of you, our listeners and viewers, our friends and neighbors, and of course, our fellow shining stars, to head on over to Carrie's official Facebook page. In addition to Amazon.com, you can purchase and read and enjoy your copies of the Adventures of Baby Brown Bear series. Of course, it starts off in Australia, and then it hops to the Philippines, and then Mexico in the process. One of the many ways you can also pledge your support for Cari is by leaving that 5-star review on Amazon. That lets her know that she's doing wonderful and much needed work for children, parents, families, educators, and for those who love great children's books. If you head on over to your favorite local library, your favorite children's or independent bookstore, if they do not stock their copies of the Adventures of Baby Brown Bear series, make that kind recommendation. Heck, make it the best day ever. Make that kind recommendation. Let them know that they should stock the Adventures of Baby Brown Bear series in the library, in the bookstore that you are currently finding yourself in the process. And of course, for all educators, teachers, principals, librarians, school superintendents, you can connect with Cari to schedule your very own author school visits leading into the holiday season, coming out of the holiday season, because of course this is going to be available in perpetuum, and Cari's work is not going anywhere anytime soon in any way, shape, or form. So you can connect with Cari via her official Facebook page to schedule your very own author school visit to connect your students with Baby Brown Bear and his adventures. And yes, Baby Brown Bear is encouraging kids at the same point in time to enjoy the time in school and have some fun, have some healthy mischief. I think that that's probably a phrase that educators can really connect with, because we don't want, kids, being rebel rousers and causing trouble that will get them in trouble, to have that healthy mischief, as the expression goes. But again, when we hear the trolley, that means that it is time to go. But again, more magical trolley stops to come. If you are a children's author or a middle grade author and would love to join us here on the Children's Book Spotlight series, if you would like for us to share your inspiring story in the release of your brand new book, head on over to our official website, prfromtheheart.com, or connect with us via any of our social media platforms that you now see on screen. Instagram, Facebook, X, all at PR From The Heart. Big shout out to, of course, we've mentioned his name several times. If you remember Mr. Rogers, you remember Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. You also remember the iconic Mr. McFeely. Well, we know him and we love him as David Newell. The sister program of the Children's Book Spotlight series is the Neighborly Reviews bookcast. Of course, hard to believe that we are now approaching the 5-year anniversary of the Neighborly Reviews bookcast in just a few short trolley stops. This is where David and I take the time to deliver heartfelt reviews of the newest, the latest, and the greatest children's books in the world of children's literature from both traditionally published authors and self-published authors. If you are a children's author and would love for David and I to deliver a heartfelt review of your brand new children's book on the Neighborly Reviews bookcast, you know where to connect with us via our official website and social media platforms, all at PR From The Heart. And again, lastly, we have been very privileged to be of service to many of the top names in the world of children's literature, ranging from celebrities like the iconic Sharon Lois and Bram, Skinnamarink Dinky Dink, Skinnamarink Doo. We love you, of course, the co-creators of the iconic song Skinnamarink, in addition to the hosts of The Elephant Show that aired on Nickelodeon and CBC, ranging to John Parr and Catherine Roy, some of the leading voices in the world of children's literature. And for those authors whose journeys are just taking flight, as we are entering into the 12th year of service here at PR From The Heart, if you are a children's author looking for dedicated PR publicity support to have your story be shared with the media and connect with more parents and educators and librarians in the process, leading into the holiday season, during the holiday season, and of course, most importantly, as we enter the new year of 2026, a lot of children's authors' journeys will be taking flight. Head on over to our official website, prfromtheheart.com, schedule your courtesy connection call. Let us see how we can be of service to you. One final time, once again, The Adventures of Baby Brown Bear, now available. Head on over to Cari's official Facebook page. Keep the conversation going post-Children's Book Spotlight series. We've included the link to her Facebook page in the description below. And then, of course, if you want to leave that 5-star review on Amazon, you can go ahead and do that as well. If you head on over to your favorite local library, your favorite children's or independent bookstore, and they do not stock their copies of The Adventures of Baby Brown Bear, you know what to do. Make that kind recommendation that the entire series should be stocked. And then, of course, a big shout out to all educators and those who want to connect with Cari to schedule author school visits leading into and during 2026 and beyond. But again, when we hear the trolley, that means that it is time to go. Raise your hand if you have had fun on episode number 255 of the Children's Book Spotlight series. We see hands up from Cari, hands up from myself, paws up from little Forrest. Of course, we also see hands up from the little ones on screen. That means mission accomplished, job well done. If these messages that we have shared here today, if the series as a whole, The Adventures of Baby Brown Bear, has opened your heart to realize the fact that you are worthy of having amazing adventures, that this can be the best day ever. It's almost like you're kind of serenading yourself to Air Supply when the music is on and when the music is off at the same point in time. Life can be like an Air Supply song. It really can. Of course, one of the many ways you can pledge your support for Carrie, as well as for us here at PR from the Heart in the Children's Book Spotlight Series. Subscribe to PR from the Heart's official YouTube channel if you haven't had the chance to do so. Join the more than 30,000 members of the PR from the Heart family, our loyal YouTube subscribers, and share this very special trolley stop that you have enjoyed on your favorite social media platforms of your choosing. Again, we want to thank you for your continued support of PR from the Heart, for your continued support of the Children's Book Spotlight Series, for your continued support of children's authors, middle grade authors across the country and around the world, such as Cari Hitchcock, who are doing wonderful and much needed work for children, parents, families, educators, and as we like to say here on the program, for those who love great children's books, for the pillars of our community, local libraries and children's and independent bookstores. But above all else, we want to thank you for helping us to walk home the children of the world. One final time we mentioned Fred Rogers, and you know why? Did you know that he weighed 143 pounds during the course of his natural adult life? You might be wondering, little Forrest, Carrie, John, why are you mentioning this as you are fading to black? Mr. Rogers, in his own private numerology, very much knew what he was doing. He reminded us of our inherent worth and our inherent value, and that we were loved and special just the way that we were, that we are, that we always will be. There is one letter in I, there's 4 letters in love, and there's 3 letters in you. It's a little tip of the cap to Fred Rogers, little tip of the cap to little Forrest and to Carrie, who were very kind to spend some quality time with us here in our neighborhood. And as a little tip of the cap to the memory, the heart, and the spirit of Fred Rogers, we share our favorite 3 numbers of 2, 4, 3. There are 2 letters in we, there is 4 letters in love, and 3 letters in you. So we are reminding you individually and collectively of your inherent worth and your inherent value. We are reminding you that the best adventures of your life have not even happened as of yet. We're reminding you that you are loved, that you are special, that you are whole, that you are healthy, that you are complete, that you are loved and special just the way that you are. So for little Forrest, for Cari Hitchcock, for myself, John Masiulionis, thank you for your continued support of us here at PR from the Heart and for the Children's Book Spotlight Series. And even more importantly, thank you for helping us to walk home the children of the world, our fellow friends, our fellow neighbors, and our fellow shining stars. Goodbye for now.